Hey everybody, we're out in the garden today and we're picking beans. Today we're gonna make fermented dilly beans. This is something we've never done and it's quite a wonderful proposition. We'll tell you why.
We've actually we've canned dilly, where we've made like dilly bean pickles with like vinegar before, but we've never fermented dilly beans. So yeah, we know we like dilly beans.
So first of all, what are dilly beans? Dilly beans they're pickled beans and they're pickled with dill. You might have guessed. Dill, garlic, they have red pepper in them, so they're spicy and they're salty and tangy. They're one of our favorite things and we have made them before. Not last year because the bean beetles ate all of our beans, but years before we've made them. They're amazing. If you've never had them, you need to go find some, or better yet, make some along with us. Well, I'll talk more about what the fermented beans are, what that even means. But first, we gotta get some beans. So I'm gonna be weeding, Brianna's picking, and we're gonna work our way down this row and try to get ourselves a basket of beans. Before we go inside to make these beans, I'm going to just show you a couple garden notes. First, determinate versus indeterminate tomatoes. Determinate tomatoes are hybrids that are crossed for a limitation of growth. They won't really grow much taller than this. Most heirloom varieties are indeterminate and they'll grow and grow and grow until they freeze. They can grow 20 feet long. Determinate bushes, indeterminate vines. I was about to pick my raspberry harvest for this year. There was one beautiful bright red raspberry on this bush, but before I could get to it, a chicken who followed us into the garden ate it. The day after I made a video saying that geese will do no harm in the garden, the geese came and ate a bunch of beans, and yeah, they actually ate the bean plants and ate this comfrey to the stalk, which is fine. It's a good snack for them. It's just a little ugly now. And the last little garden note is we're just gonna start to use tarps for some weed control before we plant. I'm just checking on the grass under here. It's mostly done, but we'll probably leave it a couple more days to make sure everything under there is not only dead, but germinated and then dead. So when we finish clearing out all these beds, which we've been working on, we're gonna tarp them for 2-3 weeks and then plant our winter garden down here. Hopefully in a more weed-free environment. Nice.
Thanks. I got this much yesterday too.
More?
Was that a whole bushel?
It's not a bushel, no.
Two of these is a bushel?
No, a bushel's much, much bigger.
Oh, two of these half a bushel? I don't know.
We're assembling all of our ingredients. We have these green beans from the garden. We have dill, which was just harvested straight from the garden. It's fresh, these heads of dill. We have garlic, that's also from the garden. Also some red pepper. Let's assemble some of these jars of dilly beans. What we're gonna do is take these clean jars and pack our ingredients down into them. So each jar is going to get a nice generous amount of dill.
Whoever gets this, whichever jar gets this one just needs one. Bigger one.
Garlic for me, can you hit that off with... Thanks. Perfect, thank you. Each jar is going to get 3 cloves of garlic at least. And I'm going to put in a generous amount of these red pepper flakes. Try not to do too much, right, Grace? So what's the big deal with fermented dilly beans? What am I even talking about? Well, nowadays, pickles and things like dilly beans, they're pickled, they're canned, and they're treated with heat known as canning, and packed in vinegar and spices in a jar. And while they're not sterile, most of the bacteria has been killed by the heat, and that's how it's preserved. What we're doing is a much older technique, fermenting. We're not gonna treat this with heat. We're gonna pour salt brine over this, and bacteria are actually going to flourish in this environment. And the bacteria themselves are going to be what preserves our beans and gives them the acidic bite that most pickles get from vinegar. Last, we're gonna take a whole grape leaf and stuff it down on top. Help keep the beans down, and also they have a great flavor. This brine is just salt and water. We heated up the water, and now it's cool enough it won't kill all the bacteria that's in the jar. And yeah, the bacteria that's gonna kick this process off is already on these beans and on the grape leaves, interestingly. So this is 1 gallon and 10 tablespoons of salt. And then we're going to cover these, and I'm using these nice little air seals from Mason Tops that came to us via the Homestead box, and we'll put a link for those in the description. You don't need to have these though. You can just use a coffee filter or a double coffee filter pulled over the lid and a rubber band holding it on. You want to make sure all your beans are underneath your brine. The next thing we're going to do with these is leave them at room temperature for 3 days to as long as you want, and you can taste them as you go. And then when you think they're flavorful enough but not too mushy or not mushy at all, put them in the fridge, and it's going to slow down the fermentation process, and they will store for a very long time.
And stay crunchy because they'll be in the fridge.
And Brianna says they'll stay crunchy because they'll be in the fridge, hopefully. I'm putting them up beside this giant sauerkraut batch. And you can see, if you watch that video, there's that purple band of cabbage is spreading out slowly, but it looks like it's doing really good. Okay guys, before we shut this video down, I wanted to tell you about a Kickstarter project that we are supporting. It's called the Appalachian Seed Story Project. We're gonna put a link in this video description. Now, this is just something that caught our eye on Instagram. It was a message to Brianna, and it really caught her eye. We don't know a lot about the person who's doing the project. Her name is Emily. We've talked to her on the phone, but we really like her idea. She's simply trying to gather stories about heirloom seeds from the southern Appalachian region. Even if you're not interested in giving to a Kickstarter, check out the description on the Kickstarter page, because she's not just looking for money, and she is looking for a little bit of financial support to help cover travel expenses as she travels around gathering these stories to make a documentary. She wants to find people who have really neat heirloom seed stories, maybe people who have seeds that they don't even know if they're in a catalog anywhere. So even if you don't want to financially support a project right now, maybe you have a neighbor or a grandparent who might be interested in contributing some of their knowledge to this project. Anyway, so that's why we're shouting it out. We think it's a neat thing. And we'll try to update you. We've asked her to keep us up to date on everything with her project. So thanks for joining us, and you have a great night. Bye-bye.